Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
thank you so much for having me. You know what? Then I'll start with that. I know you're here now.
Yeah.
I know that we have many of our investors here in the audience and watching online. And I want to start with a thank you speech of sorts. It's thanks to these 14,500 people who have invested more than 1 billion kroner, more than $100 million in solar energy projects, in portfolios of solar around emerging and frontier markets in countries like Nigeria or Vietnam or Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America. And by that, not only more than 3 million people with access to electricity, a lot of industries being electrified, societies being built, a huge amount of CO2, right? 1.2 million ton of very direct impact in terms of CO2 avoided. And maybe the more crucial point is that you've also earned an annual 4 to 7% in zero interest rate environment. And thanks to that, we have proven the point, right? That true outperformance in investments is people, planet, profit. And that's what we should all expect from our bankers and our investors moving forward. Not just the one. It's just not good enough. We can do better. For the remainder of my time, I'll address it to the people who haven't found us yet.
Okay.
For all of you that heard about Trine and not acted or haven't heard about Trine, let's take a few minutes. You see, today, roughly half the world's population live with energy poverty. That's 3.6 billion people. 675 million of them have no electricity whatsoever. And this is in high growth regions, emerging and frontier markets, and this is where the sun shines the most often. But the crazy part is they often rely on carbon intense and expensive fuel sources, either through the grid or off grid. And really the big problem is lack of finance. So my name is Sam, as you said. I'm one of the founders of Trine, and roughly 15 years ago I was fortunate to get into solar energy in Germany. That was at the time the biggest market in the world. There was so much going on, and I was shipped off to the US to learn about solar and finance, this great innovation in business models. And the uncanny thing is, at that time, the world's forecasters was looking at an annual whopping amount of 1 gigawatt of solar every year to be installed until 2010. 1 gigawatt, they said. By 2010, when I got in, we had already multiplied that and surpassed that by 17x. 17 times more than the expectations. By now, it's 445x, 445 times more than what the most optimistic scenarios was. So that goes to the point of exponential growth, and it really does work. That's beyond the wildest dreams. This year alone, solar investment will have more investments than all other energy sources combined. So when I got in, it was about alternative energy. There's nothing alternative about solar energy anymore, right? And that is beautiful, and we've experienced that. But there is still quite a lot to do. There is a steep climb ahead. Many of the regions where solar makes the most sense are not getting more than just a fraction of that investment capital. And even if these are the places on planet Earth where the sun shines the most, it simply doesn't happen, right? So why are investors not lining up, and corporates? Why are they not? Because these are the emerging markets. This is where majority of the growth is. Well, it's risk. Risk, plus it's really, really difficult. I'm speaking from 10 years of experience at Trine. It's quite difficult to do these transactions. But this is where we come in. So at Trine, we made it our thing to make it easy and simple for everybody, to reduce barriers so that you can all join and invest in portfolios of solar energy across anywhere from Latin America to Vietnam, a lot in Sub-Saharan Africa, and earn an annual return, and you can follow and track your progress online. And before you see any investment, we'll have a lot of quality assurance and due diligence that has happened by our very talented investment professionals who live in India, who are in Kenya in our office, who are from Nigeria and in Nigeria, boots on the ground, actual real world investment experience and super focus on risk assessment, risk management, risk structuring, risk pricing, risk communication. So we try to make it simple. So really simple is you go in on trine.com, right now preferably, and you sign up. And by signing up, I would recommend following the We Don't Have Time special voucher code for a bonus so you can experience the product quickly. We'll make sure to share that. We Don't Have Time 1000. You create your account at Trine in just minutes, especially as a Swedish person, but most of Europe, it only takes a few minutes. You browse your impactful solar energy projects and you build portfolios that are robust. And then you lay back, you follow and track the progress, and ideally you increase your portfolio. Maybe as a wrap-up remark, it was recently reported that emerging economies need roughly 2 trillion USD per annum to do the energy transition. I mean, we've done significant impact so far, but I think the story of solar shows that if we can address all those investors around, say, Europe and the world, and all the corporates who want to get CO2 avoidance done at scale and simple, I think also this we can do exponentially fast and have a lot of impact. Thank you so much.
Super. Let's go over to our panelists, because you already gave a bit of a glimpse into scaling, but you also left the door slightly open as well to how you would scale this up. But I mean, I think it's crowdfunding in some shape or form, right? But it's better than that because you've got a lot of experts making sure there's quality. You don't have to invest zillions. You can invest a minimum of what, $25 or something
that's the minimum
in a project and get your investment note. So it's open to everybody. And you just added US dollar as a currency that you can do transactions in. That's where you are right now. Over to the panel. Yep.
Mic starts working also. Okay, thank you so much. Maybe it doesn't look like it, but I'm super ecstatic right now about this one, about your company, Sam. I've been doing a lot of research on this massive paradigm shift that is coming in for society, from linearity to circularity, and the enabler that will make the incentive unleashed for a circular economy, meaning let's sell our physical products as a service instead of a unit. But when I sell a product to you as a service, who's going to own the product? Me as a manufacturing company, my balance sheet becomes very bloated, and I don't want to own that bloatedness because my return on capital employed goes down. So I think we need to have a third party that you guys are providing and unlocking that owns physical products and get a piece of the return. So I think what you're creating here is the 6th major financial asset class. We have 5 today, meaning physical products. Because when a product becomes a revenue-generating unit, in this case you have energy, but in the future you will have autonomous vehicles and robots and so forth, the product can perform a utility for you. And it enables anybody to own that product and earn a profit. And manufacturing companies, they want someone to take care of that risk. So I think what you guys are creating, just to box this in a very long-term future perspective, is the dawning shift from ownership to usership, and we need the financial innovation, the financial infrastructure to enable this, and this will become the 6th major financial asset class. Just some long-term thoughts.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
Okay. Yeah. Just to state first that I'm biased, and I know your concept very well, of course, because the key point is that you have a proven business model in an area which is growing incredibly fast. So it's the most exponential area, I would say, in terms of climate solutions, as you highlighted. And we're just at the beginning, as far as I see it. The model is proven, and I know that because you've been able to deliver like 4, 5, 6, 7% continuously the last 5 years. And we had an investment of $100,000, so it delivered substantially more than any type of, having cash in the bank and so on. So that is a really strong proof point that you have a track record backwards in time. What I'm really interested in is, of course, how could this scale by 100x or 1000x? Because the potential, just taking a small piece of the potential. And we know there are about 10 million factories. A lot of our members have a lot of factories in Asia and everywhere. All of these need to be decarbonized, basically. So if it's possible to create a model where you can actually get these services in place without impacting the balance sheet for these factories as well, by the way, where you lower the risk and then get the return, it should be possible to do that incredible scaling, if it's possible to find the right actors, in my opinion, and the concepts. I think there is a potential to go far beyond to what you've done today, which is probably 10 or 100x.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, we're just in the beginning. Thank you.
Yeah, fascinating comments and excellent, hearing the story after already seeing the site, for example. My key question is really, and maybe this relates a bit to how do you go to that next level of scale? If the North Star is, democratizing access to global investors in this niche space, then the behavioral psychology of finance is really important. So I was also curious if by default you require a certain minimum number of investors to be on a certain project before, because if it just shows 0, then the sense of risk as an investor for that, either unconsciously or there is that bias, kind of sets in. So just thinking the strategy around how do you, play along with the different kinds of behavioral finance types of rules of the game that can sway somebody to invest a lot, a little, or nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, we've done a lot of experiments and have a lot of data in this area. For example, when we engage with a financial institution together with the retail crowd, we see that investor appetite all around becomes bigger. So basically, I would say and with corporates, it's absolutely insane as well, because it really drives behavior forward. And we have probably 20 or maybe 30 of these specific learnings of how you can actually reduce barriers for entry on both sides of the business. And the real insight, I would say, is that the definition of reduced barrier of entry is just different between your average retail investor, who is a person who is maybe investing a few thousand euros and have 100% mandate control over their money. And there's other psychology playing. Whereas a corporate, you have a certain psychological play and incentive structure. And of course, in the financial institutes and the traditional finance and even the sustainable finance, you have a certain flair of fiduciary responsibility that comes into play. So I think you just have to cater to that investor group one by one and make sure that the asset class is ready to swallow it when you come. Because there's a lot of financial flows we can unleash on this. And that's exactly what we want to do in the next few years. So thank you for that.
Could I just jump here, only because I find it fascinating? I mean, I'd say one thing. It's a bit like if you mentioned that you can bank with a bank that doesn't invest in fossil fuels to a friend sitting over coffee in say, Berlin, where I live, and you say, who do you invest in? They say, Deutsche Bank. I said, have you heard of Triodos Bank, which doesn't invest in fossil fuels? It's exactly like a normal bank. No, I've never heard about it. Oh, well, then why don't you just move your money? Then you do one good thing for the climate, right? Yep. And with Trine, there's still loads of people in Europe that never heard of Trine.
Never heard of us.
So actually, that's just a simple, it's not a marketing campaign in terms of scaling, because I'm sure loads of people want to invest in something good with a good track record that gives a nice rate of return. I mean, there are some simple parts of this scaling story,
Absolutely.
Which are about how do you get your message beyond the enormous, but really only a pinprick group of, say, Europeans at home wondering what to do with their money, right?
Yep.
So I'd say that one. The last thing is risk, which is, oh my God, we run out of time. I was going to say, you don't have any investments in the Central African Republic, but we can't even carry on with that, so we have to go right now. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, bye.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, Sam, we ran out of time.
You bet.